they're going to worry about is getting Jen back from injury. Can she run at the level she's had her whole collegiate career?
I think your concern's legitimate. In order for them to, like you said, being out of competition mode. I mean, everyone at some point in time is ran for fitness. So, in terms of staying up on competition, I think practice is going to be key for them. During their break, practice is going to be very key for them if they want to do well in the championship race.
Yeah, both teams, though, I don't know if we can call them, we're not going to call them favorites, but to me, both teams have a legitimate chance of finishing very well and possibly taking away PSAC championships. So both teams, to answer the question, have a legitimate shot at winning the PSAC championship.
All right, we'll take another look at our scores. Bill, you had some good points that round. I have you at 14. Tim, you have 12, and Zach, you have 10. All right, let's keep things rolling along. We'll stay with SRU sports. The women's soccer is 11-3-2, and they locked up a PSAC playoff spot this week. What should we expect from the women's soccer team in the playoffs, Tim?
Well, I think that it's going to be interesting to see what they can do. They're a decent team. They're in the top half, and they should. The first round, I expect them to get through it. I don't see the first round being a real problem for them. But after that, their 3 losses this year were against the top 3 PSAC teams, Westchester and Bloomsburg and Cal. And they played Bloomsburg close. They lost 2-1, but they couldn't score any points against Cal or Westchester, and that really worries me that once they get into the semifinals and the actual championship game, that they'll be right back at it. They're going to have to play a strong game. I know their defense was sloppy in both of those games, the Cal loss and the Westchester loss. But if they can shore their defense up, it's soccer. Anything can happen day in and day out. But I think that's going to be the main worry is can they come back and get vengeance for beating those, for losing to those teams.
Again, with like we talked with cross country, having a strong finish is going to be big for them. Their past 2 games have been shutouts. They're currently on a 4-game winning streak. Confidence for them in the PSAC playoffs is going to be, how they go in, how they take their day-to-day approach in practice is really going to affect how they play. The sky's the limit for them, as we've seen all year. Just looking at the teams and the level they've played at has been pretty good for the most part of the year. So all they have to really do is finish out strong, and I don't see them having any problems contending for a title.
Not only have they just won their last 4, they're unbeaten in their last 8. They're 4-3-1 against the top 10 in the Atlantic region. Those 3, as Tim hit on, are the top 3 teams in the conference. But I hate to bring pro sports back in, though. You remember the Penguins it was last year. They couldn't beat the Devils. They couldn't beat Washington. They all got knocked off early in the playoffs. So anything can happen once the seeds are final. So the Westchesters and Bloomsburg, by the time we get to the conference semis and the finals, etc., they might not even be there. So we just got to get in and see how it plays out.
Yeah, there's definitely a chance for anything to happen. Like I said, and like you just said, it's soccer. It's a game where there's a lot of games, especially these PSAC matches. They come down between close teams. They come down 1-0, 2-1 type games where 1 goal can change everything. And if you get the momentum going early, you can just run away with it. So I think they definitely have a legitimate shot. I'm not going to say they're a favorite. I actually predict that they're probably going to make it to the second round and probably lose out to a Bloomsburg team. I don't know how the seedings are going to go, but I think that if they can get lucky, they have a chance to make it to the championship game. But I'm not going to predict that.
Well, strong play from them is really going to be a factor. Playing strong, like you said, it's soccer. The game's 1-1, 2-1, going to overtime. It's really going to be interesting to see how they handle pressure lock situations like that in a playoff atmosphere. It's a whole different beast whenever it's a regular season. I mean, granted, it still has some meaning, but in the playoffs, I mean, it's win or lose, so.
I think when it comes to pressure situations for them, they've already shown they can succeed. I mean, look, Shelby Ward and Ashley Pagani, they've had big goals all year long, late in games and overtime. Shelby Ward just the other day had a goal in like the first minute of overtime. So I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, they're definitely a strong team. Just worried about those performances. They were earlier in the season, but their 3 losses they had, they all came, I think, within like a week or 2. It was like 3 games back-to-back almost that they had the losses. So maybe they were just trying to get something worked out then. And hopefully they got everything worked out, and I'd love to see them succeed and win a PSAC championship.
Sometimes when you lose to a team and you know you're going to face them again, you know what you need to do to beat them, and you can improve on it that way.
All right, now that our first 4 topics are finished, we'll take a quick look at the scores one more time. Bill, you have 17. Tim, you have 15. And Zach, you have 13. Now we'll take a quick commercial break and come back with the final 5 topics of the show. Welcome back to the Slippery Rock Sports Forum. Bill is in the lead, and he currently has 17 points, and he will lead us off with our 5th topic of the show. All right, Bill, take us back to college football. Now that the NCAA season is well underway, who is standing out as a top contender for the Heisman Trophy?
Oh, I noted earlier that Auburn's Cam Newton's playing like a god, but we can't forget about old Boise State and Kellen Moore. The rating system's different in college and the NFL. I think the highest in the NFL is 153.4. He's got a 190.3 rating. He's thrown for about 1,600 yards, 16 touchdowns, 1 pick. That's unbelievable accuracy. 1 pick, and he has about that 67, 68 completion percentage. Team hasn't lost yet. They've got a chance to make a run for the BCS national title game, and I think he's going to emerge as a bigger candidate as we get later into the year.
My pick's sleeper. He was the very early favorite. Denard Robinson of Michigan. He leads the NCAA in rushing with 1,096 yards and 9 touchdowns, along with 1,319 yards, along with 9 passing touchdowns. He's had some trouble with injury, so that's kind of affecting his game right now. He's more of a, as we alluded to last week, a scrambling quarterback. He likes to make plays with his feet more than his arm, but he's able to make plays when it happens, for his team whenever something breaks down. He always seems to be able to come through, whether it be his arm or his legs. So we'll see how his season finishes out.
I'm going to go back to somebody Bill mentioned on briefly. It was Cam Newton. We talked about him earlier, and I was just fascinated by how well he played. And maybe it was just that one game. I saw him earlier in the season for a little bit, flipping through the channels, saw him play. But this game he played fantastic. And he broke the SEC rushing record for a quarterback for a single season, and we're only 8 games in. So there's still 3 games left. He has 1,077 rushing yards this year. That's the most ever in the SEC for a quarterback. He has 14 rushing touchdowns, 13 passing touchdowns. So that's a total of 27 touchdowns. He has over 2,000 yards already. He's just playing amazing all season, and he has his team #1 in the BCS right now. And to go off of picking Denard Robinson from Michigan, it's something that I think gets looked at as where whenever you're in a top team, a top program playing very well, as Michigan's had their troubles this year, they're not one of the top programs, I think that does get looked at some, how well you lead your team, especially in the quarterback role for Cam Newton leading that team. I think that gives him some extra credit to winning the Heisman by how well he's played all season.
There's that word again, quarterback, whose job it is to throw the ball with accuracy, and that's what Kellen Moore has. You look at guys like Cam Newton, yeah, he's playing great, but that's not really his job. That's more like a bonus. Denard Robinson, I think it's a crime to call him a quarterback because guys like that have terrible arms and they're not accurate at all.
Well, I think in college it's completely different. Once you get in the pros, if we're talking best pro quarterback, Kellen Moore, he's the best prospect out of the 3 that we're talking about. But in college, it's about running options and option offenses, spread offenses, and that's what Cam Newton's able to do. He's filling the role that his team needs him to. He's running for 1,000 yards. He's passing the ball downfield when he needs to. And if he seems more like a running back, well, that doesn't matter because he's still getting the numbers and he has his team ranked #1.
I'd like to add to something you were saying earlier, that what conference is Boise State playing? The Big Ten, the SEC, those are a bit more honorable conferences, I think, and that may not affect anything. But I feel that Denard Robinson's obviously a sleeper. He's not listed on a Heisman watch or anything due to his injuries and the fact that they fell earlier to Michigan State this year. But if I had to pick out your 2 choices, I would have to go with yours simply for the fact that he plays in the SEC. and Boise State's playing against, I don't know, South Dakota. So it's kind of, I mean, one touchdown's amazing at the division. I mean, one interception is amazing at the Division 1A level, but still the competition just varies so much within comparing the two conferences.
I don't think that should have any waiver on the Heisman Trophy, which is we're supposed to give it to the best overall college football player. It shouldn't have conference or your schedule shouldn't have any relevance to any of it.
Well, see, I think for people like us, the average sports fan, we tend to not look at that as much. But when it comes to the voters and the media, they definitely point out that, that's why Boise State isn't ranked number 1 right now or number 2. That's why they bumped to number 3, because of the conference that they play in. And I think it ends up being the same thing for a guy like Kellen Moore, where he's having an outstanding year. And I don't think it affects as much, but it's still going to affect him if him and Cam Newton come down to both playing very well, having the same type of numbers. That I think Cam Newton's going to get it over the top of him.
Competition definitely plays a big factor. I mean, like, you look at the strength of schedule, and I mean, they've only played a couple ranked teams at that, and they're playing. I can't even tell you what conference they're in, to be honest. Boise State. Do you have any idea?
Is it the WAC?
Yeah. See, exactly. We're all having trouble with it.
It's either the WAC or the Big Sky.
It's the WAC.
If we're going to talk about competition, you go back 2 years ago. Never mind that. We're going to scratch that.
All right, let's go from Division 1 to Division 2 college football now. On Saturday, Slippery Rock defeated Lock Haven 56-14, and Akeem Satterfield and LaQuinn Stevens Howlings both had huge days for the team, combining for over 200 yards and 5 touchdowns. Does that show that the SRU football team has a good chance to win the rest of the games? And do you think they have a chance to make the playoffs? Zach, why don't you start this one off?
Lock Haven isn't a very strong team at all. They haven't won a game this year, but kudos to those guys for having a great day. Actually, the whole team, they really deserve props, pat on the back, whatever be it. But what they should be more worried about is their next 3 games, which are major PSEC games. They play Gannon, Mercyhurst, and I believe it's Long Island University. CW Post. So those games are, it's great to really build off this, especially after losing to Cal. But in order to, this is really more of a morale builder, if you will, as far as them making a strong run toward the postseason. But apparently a lot of things have to happen for them to get in. So it'll be interesting to see how the PSEC finishes out.
Yeah, it's what I expect them to do. Like you said, Lock Haven's not a very good team at all. I expect them to go out there and put up like 40-some points. They put up 56, played a very good game, and like you said, morale builder. That's what they needed. Now they have a chance to play these games, but Mercyhurst just defeated Cal that was 3rd ranked. And so whenever Slippery Rock, we played horrible against Cal. Just using simple logic here, Mercyhurst beat Cal. How are we going to go out and beat Mercyhurst? Yeah, I understand that it can happen, but we didn't play a very good game at all against Cal. And you can say that we got away from our running in that game. Satterfield only had, I believe, like 14 carries, 49 yards. And they got away from the running game. So they go back to that. I think they can play a closer game against Mercyhurst. But Mercyhurst knocked off the top team in the conference. So now that kind of puts Mercyhurst up there as one of the top teams. So how is Slippery Rock going to be able to go and do this? I just don't see it happening.
I think that loss to Cal is going to play a big role because Cal now has the tiebreaker over Slippery Rock, if I'm correct. One thing that they have going for them, they're going to play the last 2 of the last 3 games. 2 of them are going to be at home. The thing we need to worry about is, are they going to go away from their bread and butter again, which is handing it to Akeem Satterfield?
Yeah, that's like they got in a big game before and they went away from it. You got to worry if they make an early mistake like they did last game, get down by a touchdown, something like that, start to worry right off the bat, and then they're trying to catch up all game, and they start passing it too much, not handing it off, and next thing you know, they're losing, they're out of playoff contention.
I think the Rock can really turn the tables if they beat Mercyhurst. Really, if you think about it, that would really make a statement. Which again, you said they show up on Saturday and play it out. But as far as